Hey sketchy friends, so in today's video I want to show you how you can sketch something like this. I'm going to show you very quickly, but I'm going to give you loads of tips as we go throughout. And if you want to see full-length, real-time tutorials on how to sketch something that looks like this, then please do check out my courses and classes. I've got links to them in the description below. Specifically, if you're a beginner, Sketchy Adventures is a fantastic place to start. But if you're a little bit past the beginner stage, then I do suggest my short course, Buenos Aires. And if you're a bit more experimentally minded, then check out the Abstract Watercolor Backgrounds course. So I'm heading off to Portugal in September. I'm leading a sketchy vacation workshop there. So if you want to join in, there's still a few spaces left. So please do check out the link below. I'm just going to quickly talk about that trip and where we're going. And then we're going to crack straight into this tutorial of how you can sketch a scene of the old town of Lagos in the Algarve of Portugal in a beautiful line and wash style. Very easy to do, and I'm going to talk you straight through it. Those of you who want to hear more about the trips to Portugal and Spain, I am hosting a free live webinar tomorrow, Saturday 1st of February, with Judith, who's the previous art instructor for the trip from Sketching Spain. We are going to chat about the trips. We're going to show you guys some of our favorite travel sketching techniques right now. And we've also got some giveaways as well as a discount code for those trips. So please do join us on Zoom. The times and the link are in the description below. We would love to see you there. On the 27th of September to the 3rd of October, I am leading the Sketching Portugal trip. We're going to Lisbon and the Algarve. 3 days later, I am leading a trip to Spain. Very easy to get from this trip over to Sevilla in Spain, only 3 hours. So if that's something you're interested in doing as well, then you can check out the Spain trip. I'll give the links in the description below. Just very quickly though, I just want to talk through this itinerary. So we do start off in Lisbon. We stay there for 3 nights. And on the first day, we have this night out. So we go for a sunset walking tour and we dive into the musical heritage of Fado, the food as well. So it'll be really awesome. We're going to go for dinner and a show. So as well as the sketching, we really are getting an awesome sort of cultural look at what's going on in the city as well. And we'll have our awesome dedicated tour guide with us the whole trip. So we'll spend the second day capturing loads of Lisbon. We'll do loads of sketching demos. It'll be really fun. This part I'm really interested in and excited about. I've always wanted to go here. So we're going to go and check out Serra de Sintra, this beautiful fairy tale castle, the Pina Palace. So yeah, that's going to be amazing. Wine, I do like my wine. Going for a wine picnic in the Algarve. Doesn't that sound absolutely amazing? A family-run winery. And we'll do some more workshops on how to capture some of the views around. Then we move over to that was already in the Algarve. Then we're doing some morning sketching around the ocean and stuff. And then we're going to have an Algarvian fish barbecue workshop. How awesome does that sound? Grill Master Jose will be teaching us his low and slow process. So really excited about that as well, because I do love a bit of cooking, a bit of a MasterChef addict over here. I don't do much cooking, I just like watching it. And then day 6, we are going to be sketching the caves of the Algarve. And we'll be stopping by the unique village of Lagos. And what have I got lined up for you guys just after this? I'm going to show you a really quick way to capture a little village like Lagos. And then before we know it, it will all be over. We'll have a lovely farewell dinner. We'll share our journals, which was a real highlight for me last year in Spain when we did it. We had such a great trip in Spain. I've made lifelong friends. They feel the same way, I'm sure. And it was just absolutely brilliant. So I've got no doubt this trip's going to be brilliant. Right, let's crack into this tutorial then. Okay, so for this tutorial, I'm just going to be using this Potentate watercolor paper. This is something that's very accessible to us right now in South Africa. It's 100% cotton. It's cold press. This is A5 size. It's really nice paper and really affordable as well. So the first thing that I am doing here is just considering rule of thirds. just to understand where I would like my focal point for this particular scene to go. Now, looking at the photograph, I already know that I'm just not going to be able to fit everything I'm seeing onto the page. And I know we're working from a photograph here, and on my travel sketching vacation, for example, we will be working directly on location. But I just wanted to show you some tips and tricks that you can apply to your own sketching. You can even take this reference photo and have a go with it as well. So I know that I wanted this tallest tower to be the focal point, so I wanted to put it on one of the rule of thirds lines, which is the vertical line on the right hand side. And then I just work from there, and I just want to make sure the top of that tower is inside of my page, which just about it is. And then I'm going to work downwards from there, and hey, if I don't include much of the scene below the tower, I'm not too fussed. The tower's my focal point, and I'm just working now, drawing everything in very basic shapes with a pencil and just working from there like I'm filling in a jigsaw puzzle. Once you've got those first couple of pieces in, like that tower, then you can just work from there and start filling in the rest of your page. So again, I'm just concentrating on very basic shapes. I'm not trying to put too much detail in here, just trying to get the shape of the roofs and things. I am also massively simplifying. In a scene like this, it can get really tricky. So, just try and reduce the overwhelm and just focus on those basic shapes. If you don't get every rooftop in perfectly where it should be, it's really not the end of the world. The idea is just to get the overall feeling of this distinct location. I know I've time-lapsed this, but I really try not to spend too much time on the pencil stuff. You see, I'm just using boxes and triangles basically. And then I thought it might be quite fun to add a frame to this sketch because I naturally had this diagonal cutoff point. And I was like, I haven't done a frame for ages, and I like that the tower is also going outside of the box, so that's quite fun. And in that bottom left-hand corner, I realized, well, there's space right there for some to record the location that I'm in. Here, I'm using a Fude fountain pen. Again, it's kind of irrelevant. You can use a normal fountain pen. You can use a micron pen or a fine liner pen. It really doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to use. Now, because I've got my pencil shapes in, that allows me to be super loose with my pen and not really worry about where I'm going or the size of things because I've already figured that out. So I'm not tracing the pencil lines, but the guidelines there just help me be quite loose with my pen. And because I've got this Fude nib, so it's got the bent nib, it does allow me to get thicker and thinner lines depending on the angle that I am using it at, which means I can fill in areas of black as I go, which is quite fun. This is definitely a stylistic choice. But I think it adds lots of contrast to the scene. So that's something that I like to do now and again. I don't do it in every sketch, but I really quite like doing it now and again. And I think it suited this one quite nicely. I'm not focusing on basic shapes anymore. I'm actually just going for it and adding details with my pen as I go. As I'm drawing each section, I'm just drawing everything. Even like these complicated ornamental details here, I'm keeping them really loose and really scribbly. That really is the secret to sketching ornate things, is to just actually indicate them in quite a scribbly way. Now, I've actually been drawing right to left, and I am right-handed, and with a pen like this Fude nib, one which lays down quite wet ink, that can be a problem. I have smudged my sketches so many times. I don't know why I still sketch from right to left. I think it's because I started with the focal point, which is the tower, which happens to be on the right-hand side of the sketch. So I think that's why I did it. So I'm being really careful here not to get my hand in that ink. If you're using a fine liner, then you should be fine because the ink dries quite quickly with that pen. So it's just if you're using quite a juicy fountain pen, you really need to be careful not to get your hand in the ink. Just to emphasize, I'm really not stressing over the exact details that are there. I just want to create the feeling of all the layers of the rooftops in this scene. So any little windows or arches or whatever I can see, I'm trying to get those in, which just adds a bit more life to the scene. You can see I'm just doing it very basically. I'm just literally putting in areas of black where there are windows. And then at the back here, there's this kind of big wall that I think goes around the village. I think it's probably like a walled medieval village. There's just a hint of foliage back there, which brings a little bit of organicness to the scene, and there's a little bit of foliage just right in the middle of the scene as well, which is quite nice. So I've finished with my ink stage now. I'm going to go on to the watercolor stage. So I have left this to dry just a little bit. I did erase some of the most obvious pencil lines, but I don't really bother too much unless I can really see a pencil line. But I did leave that ink just to dry for a few minutes, so I really want to be sure that it's dry before adding my watercolor. Now here I'm using a combination of ultramarine and cerulean blue together for the sky. I think that's quite a nice combination. I usually use cerulean by itself, but in this scene it's got a bit of a purplier, redder kind of vibe. So I thought, let me just add in a bit of ultramarine blue to the cerulean just to warm it up a bit. And now I am really drawn to these shadows in this photograph, and I really want to kind of create like a dirty grayish purple to show them, because again I feel like there's quite a like purple kind of vibe in this scene. So I have mixed quinacridone rose with indigo, so it's kind of a pinky red with a dark blue indigo, and that's given me this really nice kind of grayish purple color, which I think is really great for shadows, especially if your buildings are like warmer, they're doused in golden light. Yellow and purple are opposing colours on the colour wheel. They're kind of complementary colours, so it just makes a really nice colour scheme basically. And you will notice in this sketch I'm really trying to limit the amount of colours I use. I think that's one of my biggest tips, is to not use too many colours in one scene, especially a little scene like this. Try and keep them to a minimum. So here I've got this beautiful colour in my set called Madder Brown, which I really like. You might have a reddish brown in your set. If not, you can mix a red and a brown together and see what colours you can get to. But yeah, that's a beautiful strong colour for the roofs in this scene. And notice that I've used a more pigmented version of the colour for the darker area of the roof, and then a lighter colour for where the light's hitting the roof. And if I don't feel it's dark enough, once it's dry, I just go over with a second wash just to darken it up a bit. So you can see here I was using the bigger brush when I was doing the shadow. This is quite a small area to paint on though, so I have now switched to my smaller brush just so I can get the details in. The big brush is a round number 10, the small brush is a 1/4 inch dagger brush. They're the two brushes I pretty much use every single day. They're more or less the only two brushes that I carry around with me as well. So I'm using this beautiful quinacridone deep gold colour now for a lot of the areas that are this kind of yellowy gold colour. Again, I don't want to use too many different colours, so I'm just using the one colour for everything that's even remotely that colour, and I can control whether it's light or strong depending on how much water I use. And remember, if it's too light, you can always go back and make it darker. If you make it too dark, you can try and lift the colour a bit, but it's definitely harder to get back from that. Now for my dark areas where there's dark brown roofs and that kind of thing, I've mixed a burnt umber with indigo to make a really nice kind of dark neutralish brown. But you know, you might have a sepia or a Van Dyke brown or something like that in your set where you can just use that straight from the pan. That's absolutely fine. But if you've only got a light brown, then you can just add a bit of dark blue to it, or a bit of blue to it, sorry, and you can make it darker. So now just adding in that touch of green with the foliage, it just really kind of brings the scene to life, gives it a little bit of a nature touch to things, just with a bit of green. Literally the colour is called Green by Rosa. And now I'm just making a slightly darker version of that quinacridone rose and indigo, just to add in a few little shadow areas. I don't want to go too crazy, but just anywhere underneath ledges, inside of the windows, that kind of thing. Now I felt like this wall in the back was just a little bit too like goldeny yellow, so I'm just adding a bit of a duller kind of brown colour just to wash over that, just to make it look a bit more grubby, a bit more authentic. And now I'm grabbing the pen again because I just want to add in some lines into the roofs just to give those a little bit more texture and just to give the sketch a bit more interest. Again, just adding a few lines underneath the roof ledges and things just to emphasize. But otherwise, guys, that is the sketch. I really hope that you've taken quite a few tips away from that. I know I did it very quick, it was in time lapse, but it's just because I wanted you to get the idea of the sketch, not get too bogged down in the details. And I know when people see like half an hour, 45-minute long videos, they kind of freak out. So this was the quick version. If you want to see more in-depth real-time tutorials of me going through scenes like this, then again, just do check out those links below. And don't forget about our webinar tomorrow on the 1st of February, where me and Judith get together to talk about the Portugal and Spain trips and also to share some of our favourite travel sketching techniques with you. So do check that out. The link for that is in the description below as well. And I'll see you in the next video.